Hello and welcome to the Mystery Mind podcast. I am your host, Jesse Bourne. I'm a puzzle box maker, creator, owner of Jesse Bourne LLC puzzle boxes in upstate New York. And I'm joined by Josh Gant. Well, I was just going to have you say a couple things about yourself or how you got into it. But this episode is going to be part of our story series. Now, sometimes in podcasts, I guess they have different segments where like it can be like, this is segment number 3 on building the brand or whatever, which I don't think we'll talk about building the brand that much outside of that's what we're talking about today.
That's a great thing to question. Like, what are we talking about today? Because I have no idea.
Well, we're talking about how you started working here. I thought it'd be interesting for everybody to hear that. To take a step back, we're going to go to the early days. I guess I'll start off with how basically puzzle boxes start, just sort of a short intro. This isn't going to be the full intro of before you showed up on the scene, but just to give some background and then talk about how you came on, what the business looked like, what puzzles we were working on at the time, and what interested you enough to come in. So, like you said, we both went to the machine shop. Actually, it'd be interesting to talk about that. So before Josh started working on puzzle boxes, somebody we knew through church was working for this guy.
Yeah, actually building his house.
So you were there before me.
Yeah.
And all I know was I showed up one day to help on the house.
Yeah.
And then I showed up a couple more days, but two of the days you weren't there because you were at the machine shop. So describe the machine shop in that scenario and experience.
So, basically, it was just a job at first, going down to work on a house, building a house, basically, with the guy. And then as we started to wrap things up at the house, it kind of transitioned into, hey, you want to help at the machine shop? Because we were building it for the machine shop owner. And so I ended up going down there and helping out with that. And, there was a bit of a transition point where I was still doing some work around the property and house, and then also working at the machine shop. And that's when you started working as well. And then it's transitioned to be just all machine shop stuff until I was, learning programming and everything that goes along with machining, really. Yeah, CNC machining, obviously. And
what kind of machines at the machine shop when you got there? What were you working on?
Well, I'll say this. When I started off, it was load this part and press the button, go, unload it, load the next one. Unload it, load the next one, press go. And it was just that over and over and over. And sometimes you were doing a few other things with that. Maybe you're running 3 machines at the same time, but just basically pressing go. Obviously no programming involved in that. It's just make sure you load the part correctly. Make sure you tighten the part down in the vise, So that could get boring, but it was easy enough. It was kind of like you had to be paying attention, though, because sometimes if you made a mistake, it would cost a lot of money. Some of the machines are very expensive, and you don't want to ruin them. Mm-hmm. I remember at one point we were running this job, these aluminum plates, and you were there at that point. And the way we were running them, you had to run like half the program, and then you had to change over and hold down with a different hold down so that you could machine the rest of it and not hit the old hold downs. But you couldn't put the other ones in until you had some of it machined because you had to machine those areas. Anyway, so it made for like the cutters going exactly wherever the hold downs weren't. So as you switched them, then it's going to do the other spot. So if you forgot and like left hold downs on, it was going to crash into them and break tools. I remember at one point telling you, I'm like, I know I'm going to make a mistake eventually. I just can't get this right all the time. Because it was like, I don't know, it wasn't that big of a deal, but to me it was like, would have been the end of the world if I left one of those bolts in there or something. So I was like, so worried about that. And I remember telling you at one point, I'm like, I know I'm going to make a mistake sometime and forget one or something like that. But I don't think we ever did for that job, thankfully.
Nice.
It didn't last long enough, I guess. But yeah, so it was just kind of like the mundane things at first, like that, and then it got up to where I was doing some manual lathe work and manual mill work, mainly just like fixturing type stuff, making fixtures and stuff like that. And then eventually started getting into the programming. I think that was around the time when you left, though. You were kind of more transitioning into puzzle box making, and we had both like just kind of been introduced to the CNC programming. And at that point, it was at that machine shop. It was all handwritten.
I mean, you definitely knew how to finger the controls by that point. You were into that quite a bit, I would say, by the time I left. But I mean, when you first showed up, he probably had just recently gotten his first Akuma VMC.
Yeah.
So that was like probably a $200,000 or $300,000 machine, right?
Something like that.
Oh, that one was critical, but his other machines probably not all that expensive at the time.
Yeah, most of them were older, I would say. A couple more Ezeki lathes, a Sugami Swiss machine, Hardinge gang style lathe, an Akuma mill, but that was older, like a late 90s machine. And then a lot of manual machines besides those. But that was about all of the CNC machines, I think. And then, shortly after getting there, he bought a pretty new, very new Akuma mill, MV560. So a pretty good sized machine.
Wait, you were there before he got that?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And then shortly after that, like, must have been through 2 or 3 years after that, he got another one. So we had those two, and it was pretty nice going back and forth between them because, obviously you know how to run the one, and then it makes it so much easier to run the other one. So did a lot of programming on those, a lot of running, and probably some of my favorite machines to run, I would say. Like, the control is just way better than any of the other controls.
It's interesting thinking about, so obviously you were there for a total of 8 years, maybe?
Like 10, I think.
10 years, wow.
Just about 10, I think.
10 years. I was there for probably 2 or 3 years, of course, part-time for me.
Yeah.
Pretty much the whole way. But interesting thinking about rewinding if we went to different careers and stuff, and the machine wasn't there. I feel like you would have found your way in through welding and other things more so. Me, I mean, I was watching videos online of people making parts and whatnot, and they're using machines too. But boy, when you're right there feeding a machine and you can see the capabilities, I mean, obviously that's the direction we've gone in our business.
Yeah. That's interesting. I never really thought about that. If we didn't have that machining, what, like, would we all be doing, using hand tools for everything here?
Because
3D printing would be separate. I mean, we do that, and that had nothing to do with machine shop, really.
Right. I mean, that was pretty soon after you showed up at my place.
Yeah.
We made the Jack in the Box all by hand, 100%. And then for the next box, boy, I don't know, was Seifu in there in between though?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that was before me.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The wallet-like one. Is that?
You're right. I think you're right.
Yeah, I came right after that, I think. And no, right after the pie box is when I came. Okay. I think the pie box was between those. And then the Jack in a Box was my first one.
Right. All made on the table saw by hand.
Yeah.
And then right after that, and then looking at the parts while we're making them, setting up the table saw every single day or every other day to run a different style part. And
the inlay in the top of the Jack in a Box, I mean, if you know the box, those things all slide. And so the tolerances had to be like spot on, basically, because we're also going to sand them down. So you can't just make it right for where it is. Like, you can't make it like tapered or anything, because as you sand it down, you're going to see gaps. So the whole thing was sanded down. But I remember we had to adjust those for every single box differently. Basically, you couldn't just go with one that one. Yeah, it took forever.
I still feel bad. There was a guy up in Canada, Peter up in Canada, said he got his Jack in the Box, and he's also made some puzzle boxes and things, and he was like, the holly, the veneer was a little short by a little gap, and he might have showed me a picture, and I was like, oh well, it might have been humidity shrinking it. Which, thinking about it, sometimes humidity will create a gap like close to a 16th anyway, but definitely not on the grain length because that was the length. So
yeah,
but he was like, I'll just replace it myself. I was like, okay, cool. But yeah, that was tough getting the right fit and too tight versus I remember we did that a lot. Like our fingers just super strong doing this over and over, where some people it would be tough for them.
And knowing how to press it too, like we expect it to move the way that it's supposed to move. Some people aren't going to do that. They don't really know. And then I don't know. You're kind of always struggling with this. I want to get it done and like keep moving and get the box out the door basically. And that's one side of it. And then you're struggling with the other side. I want to be as perfect as possible. And like, there's always this tolerance there of, oh, is that good enough? And it's like you're always fighting against yourself and trying to get it as good as possible and trying not to take forever on it. And that's the problem with trying to fit everything custom pretty much. Now it's like cut it on the CNC and we make it fit perfect one time, and hopefully we're going to have that fit perfect the rest of the time. And that is so much different.
Yeah. And of course, we're doing all this, and at the same time, you're running $300,000 machines making parts incredibly accurate to within tenths or whatever you guys are shooting for.
Yeah, it is a world different cutting metal versus wood. It's like wood. It's like forget about tight tolerances; they don't matter because because you can't. The wood, structure of it is not perfect, obviously, and then it flexes, and I mean so does metal, but not nearly as much, and it swells and shrinks and everything else. It's like tolerances with wood are like, I wouldn't say harder to hit. You can't keep them really there. But also with wood, it doesn't matter as much because like if a metal piece misses by 1,000th, it's like it's not going. I mean, you could press it, but then it's not coming out. Wood, if it misses by 1,000th, it's like you could probably slide it in and out a couple times, and then it'll be perfect.
Okay. So I was working there part-time, and you were working there part-time, but definitely. My dad put a little pressure. I mean, not much, but he was like, well, you should pick a direction, because at the time I wasn't becoming like super machinist. I mean, maybe I would have, but that in my mind wasn't what I was setting out to do really, is to have a career in machining. I was more interested in making the wood stuff, but my dad was like, well, you should focus on getting that, I guess. And so that's why when I started transitioning out, I think it probably came pretty quick. But when I graduated, so I listed a whole bunch of different things on the internet, like ukuleles, chopsticks, clocks, wood signs, lots of different stuff. And the puzzle boxes sold by far the most. And so
hence you got the direction.
I kept building them and coming up with new designs, and lo and behold, when I put a new design out there, there'd be 5 or 6 people ready to buy whatever new box I made. So I kept going, making those designs. I brought some down to the shop. I actually sold one. I sold 2 puzzle books at the shop, one to the shop owner, and then one to the kind of like his foreman, sort of. I don't know at the time. And so yeah, so I was telling you whatever success I had at the time, and also I remember planning a little bit at lunchtime, and I was like, so if I come out with like a really old style book, and it's like, Victorian age or whatever, and all this different stuff, I could probably make this many in this amount of time. And remember you were like, yeah, probably, or whatever.
Yeah.
We talked about it, and to you, I was probably telling more grand stories than what it actually was at the time.
I don't know that I would have thought that.
But for some reason, you decided, I was like, yeah, you could come down and help me, right? And
Yeah.
you decided to on Saturdays, I think.
Yeah. It was Saturdays for a while there. I don't know. I was definitely interested in it, and I thought it was pretty cool. I remember you bringing down the puzzle book. That was probably like the first one. I don't know. Probably one of the first one that I saw or got to solve. It maybe wasn't, but it definitely was right around there. And I thought it was pretty neat. I remember actually when you were talking about building it, and you talked to me about it some, like we talked about different things. I think it was just on the rides to and from work. And I remember giving you some different ideas to do. And then when you brought the puzzle box later, you were bringing it down for them to see down at the shop, or because they bought one. I don't know. I was trying to solve it, and I tried to solve it like the whole trip and didn't solve it.
I remember
Or
that.
I didn't solve it till you gave me a hint. And one of the reasons I remember was because I thought for sure that the idea that I gave you was in there. I didn't tell you this then. I thought for sure that idea that I gave you was in there. So I was like, man, it's tight. It's supposed to do this because like when I told you it, I thought like, I don't know. It sounded like you liked the idea, so I thought that's what was going to be in there. And then
That's
as I
funny.
tried to solve it that way, it wouldn't solve.
What was the idea?
Oh, it was not that great of an idea, but I think so. You put the key in and you like rotated that dial, right?
Oh,
After you moved the
pages.
yeah, which
the
is what I
key out.
never saw. The pages moved, but anyway, I thought that that there was that dial slid slightly, and there was a tab that would unlock it as the dial would
Okay.
just move like 100 thousandths or something like that. And so I kept, I was completely distracted by that the whole
interesting.
time. But anyway, honestly, like, I guess every puzzle box solver has that problem of like thinking they might know how it is supposed to go, but thinking it's not doing what it's supposed to. Like, it's not,
Yeah.
it's stuck for some reason.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's not the problem.
Right. So anyway, so here I am, like we had just, I got some amount of money from the puzzle book sales, the Victorian book sales, and then I needed a new project to work on. And in the dead of winter, I remember the first time you showed up, or when you started coming, it was dead of winter.
Yeah, it wasn't right after the puzzle book though.
No?
No, it was later because it was after. Didn't you do the wallet one, and then you did the pie box after that, and it was right after the pie box. Because honestly, that was part of the reason why I did, because that one was like really cool. I thought.
Yeah.
And like.
And also, Brink made some of the mazes down on his
that's
machine
true.
also.
Yeah.
So I had like this maze plate, and it needed to be really accurate, and I was going to like mill it out by hand and make jigs and stuff to it. But I mean, he did it for, I'm sure, I can't remember what the price was, but very cheap.
Yeah.
Compared to what it should be.
So that was before we would do, in that machine shop, we would do everything by hand, the programs all by hand. We would write them out. And that one was that maze was complicated, so we didn't write that out. He sent that to somebody else that you would know to fusion it before we knew how to do fusion, really. And
That's right. I just sent sketches.
Yeah, and I remember him saying to that guy that was doing it, like, "What's taking so long? Why don't you get these things to us, or the program to us?" And he said something like, "We'll just program it by hand if it's going to take you that long," or something like that. And the guy said, "You'll be here programming it by hand for the rest of your life." Or something. Maybe he didn't say for the rest of your life, but he said for like a really long time. And it was funny. Now I think about that, and I think we could do that, no problem.
Yeah.
But that was pretty early on, for sure.
So, anyways, dead of winter, and then you show up, and I'm like, "You actually showed up? What are you doing here?" Like,
Yeah.
I'm just in the garage, and like, the restroom is inside with my family and everything, and that's where we ate lunch or whatever.
Well, not in the restroom, but.
And so I'm like, okay, well, this is a real thing now. Well, I mean, obviously, I was trying to act like it was a real thing, but it was either that earlier that winter, like in December, when we didn't have any heat in the garage. I don't think we had any heat in the garage when you showed up.
I don't think so.
Oh wait, we had like a propane
yeah.
salamander heater type thing.
And there's stories. He didn't do it while I was there, but there's stories of of you working out there with like a heated blanket on.
Yeah, so I had a winter parka, and then under that was a heated blanket with an extension cord.
Things are rough when you.
It was pretty cold, but of course, you wouldn't know that from my Facebook posts.
Yeah.
You had to be, gluing things. You had to glue everything inside so that it was warm and the glue wouldn't freeze. And you couldn't let your glue freeze anyway, because I'm sure that would destroy the glue. So then you have to take the parts back out. I think it was just kind of like warm enough to do Jack in the Box.
By the time we got to it.
Yeah. By the time,
Yeah.
Maybe not prototyping. And I think we prototyped it. Maybe we designed most of, or we started maybe with the Fusion about halfway through production or something like that. I don't think we even had a Fusion model of it, but then halfway through we might have started
for Jack in the Box.
Yeah, for Jack in the
Box. I don't think so. I don't think we did any Fusion till we got to Sea Chest.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
We might have started to.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
I don't know. I know we definitely had a learning curve from Sea Chest, laying all those out and trying to figure out how to cut them out. Yeah. We spent a lot of time on that, and I don't know about you, but like, I didn't really watch any videos on how to do any cam or design even on Fusion. I pretty much just tried different things till I got one to work. Which is why we joke now about, like, we spent thousands of hours on Fusion, I'm sure, and we're way better than we were then. But it'd be funny for somebody that actually was taught how to use Fusion like the right way. They might see things we're doing and be like, what are you doing?
The joke is that like somebody from Autodesk is like, okay, that's it, we're canceling your subscription. You guys aren't good enough. You guys need to either take a class or. But we've definitely learned a lot of things over the years. Things that have been there for the last 8 years. But,
right. If we knew, imagine the hours we could save if we knew the stuff that we know now about Fusion. It would be crazy. But I guess that's always how it is. I mean, there's even things now that we're finding that we're like, wow, that was there all along. That would have been really nice.
Yeah. Like Josh just showed me that Ben showed you how to click on a face and just delete it, and it deletes the geometry. And like, interesting. Cool.
Yeah, before we'd be like drawing these sketches to be able to get just that item to eliminate it or whatever,
Okay, so you came there in the winter, and then we started working on a new design, and that turned out to be Jack in the Box is what we went with next. Now, there was some other things that I wonder if, there was some another puzzle that never came to fruition that we also worked on in Fusion for a while. That might have been after Jack in the Box, though. Certainly after Jack in the Box, yeah. But after kind of like towards the end of Jack in the Box, we were thinking, well, these machines that we work with can make such accurate parts, and you can just do it again and again and again. So maybe we should get a CNC or else have them made or whatever. So looked up models online, and I was really wondering about going with a local guy in Albany versus a commercial CNC router. I think I ended up making the right choice, but that was going with the local guy. But we drove out there to see him. Fun fact, on the way there, we actually played chess in our head.
Yeah.
I think we're both around like 1,000 ELO points or something. So like not that many chess games played.
Yeah.
In respect to the experts who can actually do that. And so when I went home, I tried to play, and I was like, that game we played
it wasn't a real game. No, yeah. I don't know. Next time I saw you, you brought that up. You're like, okay, so I went through the game, and I was like, I'm pretty sure we didn't do some moves right, or whatever. We forgot where some places whatever pieces were. And so we started trying to recreate it. Remember that? We're like, with a real chessboard. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
We tried putting them all out, but we couldn't remember where everything was and where we had been moving.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
So anyways, we get to the place, and the guy shows us his setup. And at one point, Josh working at the machine shop for probably like 4 years by then, or 3 years or something. And Josh was like, so what kind of...
It had to be more than that, I think.
Josh was like, what kind of tolerances can the machine hold? And the guy was like, I don't really measure the tolerances, but what I will tell you is that when I go to drill these holes, they're bang on every time. I bolt the machine right together. They're right on the money. And it's like, okay. Josh didn't say anything, but we were going home, and he was like, they're right on the money. I better hope they're right on the money.
Yeah, it's like you don't have a tolerance. You just know that the holes line up when you drill them. Oh, yeah. That's good. And then like we cut something. What was it? I forget exactly.
Oh, a 1-inch cube.
Yeah, we cut a 1-inch cube, and he was like saying he didn't know what tolerances were going to be or whatever, but the thing that I remember finding encouragement from was we cut it and we measured it, and then we cut it again and measured it again. It was like the same thing. I was like, well, that's a good sign.
So anyways, this machine. So we got the machine back, and then we got into machining, got into fusion, designing, which was obviously very helpful at the machine shop. You actually kind of pulled your boss into the modern day a bit with fusion. He was getting that done, but you pulled it in-house for him and made it more visceral for him to see that firsthand.
Yeah, he had the accounts, but we didn't really use them, like fusion and SolidWorks accounts and stuff, but we never used them really except to look at models, and that was about it. Like people would send us the 3D models and we would look at it and get to the bench off of it. But it was like, we could be camming them here. We didn't do that though at that point. But actually it was C-Chess when we were camming that we both kind of learned how to cam, computer aided machining. And then kind of brought that back down to the machine shop, and then used that for a while there. And like I would work here and use it, and then I'd work down there and use it, and so I got to use it in both places and got lots of practice.
Fun fact, when we got that machine too, our first router, we were like, okay, what options do we want for it? It was like, do we want an ATC, automatic tool change, or not? And the guy was like, you're going to have to do a lot of tool changes before that pays for itself, because it's 5,000 extra bucks. And so we're like, okay, we'll just do it without an ATC. So each time,
bad idea.
With each box we're cutting one seat just at a time. We had to unscrew the nut, drop the tool, put a new tool in there, touch it off, and then hit run from here. Yeah,
took forever.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure before we finished the run.
I think so. Yeah, we had
We switched it out.
Like, for anybody who's thinking about getting a machine, unless you plan on using one tool, get a tool changer. Because, like, even if you can change it quickly, it's still not going to be as accurate, and you can't change it quickly, not as quickly as it's going to change the tools. Like, even if the time it takes to change the tool is, say, 2 minutes, which is a really long time, and you could change it in 2 minutes, which would be pretty quick for you to be able to change it. Like, you won't actually take 2 minutes, because when it stops, you're probably not going to be right there and ready to change it. It's like, it's probably going to sit there for 10 minutes before you go and stop what you're doing, go over there, change the tool. It just saves so much time at being able to continually go through, change tools. Tool lengths are all going to stay virtually the same. It's just a world better.
Yeah. Yep. So we got that home, and then we were off to the races doing the sea chest
And fixing CNC machines. Became a second, a
well,
part-time job.
a lot of our error in the beginning was just that we didn't understand it super well. There were some things that were, a little not ideal, but
Like servos.
Oh, well, that was on a different machine.
Yeah.
That was later.
But still, like, oh. I mean, we're still having those problems, really.
Motor problems and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, definitely with that, I mean, you started on Jack in the Box, and then the first CNC project was the sea chest. And that jumped us up. That was like $75,000 for that. And I remember talking about when I made the prototype or the real basic prototype, and I was like, no, I think this will sell for this much. I think it's worth this much. And it definitely boosted our business. Like, we can make a very intricate puzzle and make a lot of them. And the fun part of that is I wasn't really doing much of the woodworking on Sea Chest myself. Like, Everett was doing most of it, and then I was doing everything else, like fixing the machine or designing or tweaking things, shipping out product. But it's interesting how that changes of like the more people I hire and the more people who work here on puzzles just kind of allow me to
not work on puzzles.
Not work on puzzles, but work on everything else more.
Yeah.
Kind of. But it for some reason that ends up the more people you get here, kind of the more puzzles you can make, basically. I mean, obviously you got to make sure you're teaching them well, and there's more to it than that. But.
Yeah. And that now a lot of times what we do with boxes is a lot of carving and stuff. But back then we didn't do any carving. We didn't know we could carve. We didn't know that till we got to Sundial. I remember the first time we carved something out was at Scorpion, and we were both like, wow, that's amazing. So the carving on top of the sea chest, we didn't actually do that, the one thing that was carved. But a lot of the designs in that you found different ways to do. I remember we were using that mortise machine to like basically with a bit in there just stamp the wood to make a pattern.
Was your machine.
Well, yeah, we started it off with the mortise one, then we put that into my mill just because we had more leverage to be able to crunch into the wood with it. and then like I remember we made like this jig that we could put on the table saw, because all the frame work had all the grooves in it, and we would like cut that on the table saw before we got to cutting it all out on the CNC, which was a lot better. There was a lot of interesting things.
Yeah, that was interesting. So, I guess we'll just wrap up with this kind of like describe your roles or what you've done most from the first year all the way up to what you do now?
Well, I remember when I first came, it was like we didn't have a box to build really, so we were like going over different designs and like talking about, oh, we could do this, and then as soon as we had that first one, which was Jack in a Box, it became no more talking so much, unless we were either joking around or quizzing each other. Remember the history quizzes that we would just go back and forth all day asking each other history questions pretty much. But but then it wasn't really the talking about designs. It was just like using the table saw, cutting out parts and trying to fit things up and glue things together. And it definitely became that for a while. And then from there on out, it was just kind of going back and forth between us talking about designs and then building it. And then as it got to be CNC machining, I kind of did a lot of that. I mean, we both did a lot of, definitely both did that, but that was mainly us, whereas other people would be doing a lot more of the assembly, I feel like, after we had the CNC. I remember for a while there, I was, for Sundial, I was doing the laser, running the laser for a while, which is funny because now I don't even touch the lasers anymore. like don't even remember how to use them.
I don't even remember that, but it's funny to think about you running the laser because you don't usually do that.
Yeah, no. In fact, now I go and look at the laser and I'm like, oh man, I don't even remember how. In fact, I haven't really used the new one, so I don't know. I should probably at some point. Well, that doesn't matter. There's enough people here to do it, but it slowly kind of transitioned to where now I feel like I do very little assembly. Today I actually did more assembly than I've probably done in months. But now it's like a lot of writing the programs and design stuff. And
in there, you were running the lathe a whole bunch.
Oh, yeah, and the lathe. I forgot about that. That's kind of making my little project.
All the parts for Lost Vault have been made on the lathe, and you've done most of them. Or at least you've written all the programs. And
yeah, all the parts that are to be made, all the brass parts in the vault.
There were like 10 different parts for Sundial at one point in time that were made on the lathe.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We had a whole sheet with all the little pins on it. There were so many different little pins. We should have like consolidated or made it so there was just like more generic or something.
And the reason you made all the parts for the lathe is because the lathe is old enough you can't really hook up a computer to it. It's super hard. We haven't been able to do it. So it's an older 80s machine or whatever it is, and you have to write everything out by hand with M code, G code.
Yeah.
Type
so
everything out.
It's kind of tedious that way. But yeah, I've got experience in that. So that's yeah. It's kind of fun, I guess.
And so now, typically, just describe what you do on a typical week.
I come in, I look around and say, so what did you guys do today or yesterday? I don't know. Usually, actually, I feel like I spend 80% of the time at the computer, maybe closer to 90% of the time at the computer, like going through different designs and like writing programs and then setting up stuff in the machines is definitely some of it. I don't know. A lot of times somebody will be like, "Oh, this part isn't fitting," and so I'll look and I'll find it and the thing and adjust the way it's designed or whatever to make it fit better. And then there's actually, I shouldn't say it's 80 or 90% because actually there's a lot higher percent of us talking about whatever the new box that's coming out. Right? Yeah. Like that's got to be at least 25% of the time I'm here, I feel like. So yeah, I don't know. Everybody has their different specialty things. Like some people are 3D printer specialists, sort of, kind of here. That's what they do a lot of, and some people do the laser cutting, a lot of that. And so kind of what I have tended to specialize toward is the the lathe, which we haven't been using a whole lot lately, although we need to run some parts. And then the CNC machines, like routers and stuff. But yeah, and working with Fusion design and stuff. So that's kind of what my main roles, I would say, are now. I don't know.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for coming on the podcast today. Yes. Our listener enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. We will be back with more episodes. This is going to be our new podcast space behind me. We're going to move into this new space. We changed our shop layout a little bit, so new content coming your way, hopefully.
Yeah. Hey, if you made it this far,
yeah.
If you made it this far, we will give you a free puzzle box. No, we won't.
Well, if there's only one listener, I might. But thanks for watching or listening. You can find us on Spotify, and I'm not sure where else, Podbean. But we might separate a YouTube channel and do a YouTube thing too. Let us know if you like watching the live podcast, and we'll catch you again in the next video. Thanks. Goodbye.